Hey guys, how's it going? John here. I figured I'd just do a little video on my ham radio setup, my shack, so to speak. For those of you who are familiar with ham radio, you'll probably know what a lot of this is already. If you're not familiar with ham radio, maybe this will give you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about it and maybe get interested in the hobby. So let's just go through what this is, what I have here, and we can go from there. So let's start to the right here for me. The bottom we have just this is an external speaker for my HF rig right there. This just gives me a little bit more clarity on the audio when I'm listening. A little bit better than the built-in speaker that is built into the radio. And then above it I have just a set of headphones that I plug in, especially when I'm trying to do DX work or any kind of phone work that, you know, we're having rough conditions, I'm having a hard time hearing people. Those headphones really allow me to pull it out of the muck a lot of times and allows me to hear voices much more clearly than I would be able to with just the speaker. So next we've got, this is a MFJ tuner, antenna tuner, and this is a great little tuner that my dad gave me, and it works well. Currently I have a DXDD antenna. I'll show that real quick, drone shot. And that antenna does really well at 40 meters and also at 80 meters. That's what it's built for, but predominantly it's a 40 meter antenna. And so on the 80 meter side, it has a very small range in which it's resonant, really resonant. And so right now it's tuned for the bottom end, so more towards the data side, the not so much on the phone side of the antenna. So if I want to tune it, the built-in tuner to my radio will not tune on the high side, on the phone side of 80 meters. So this external tuner allows me to tune that up and use that antenna to the full capability. And then what we have here is my Yaesu. This is a DT991, not the 991A. This is the earlier model. So it doesn't have, I think the biggest difference is the 991A has a constant sweeping capability. So it basically gives you the waterfall. So I have to manually do it on this one. So in order to actually see changes in the radio or the band conditions or see signals, I have to constantly press this sweep button in order to see those signals. Not a big deal, to be perfectly honest, but that is a big difference. One of the biggest differences between the 991 and the 991A. But this is a great radio. It is an all band, all mode, meaning it can do HF, VHF, UHF, and across single sideband, FM, AM, CW, data modes, etc. One of the cool things about it also is it has Yaesu's C4FM digital mode built into it. So there's a couple repeaters here near me up in Ogden, Utah, that have C4FM capable repeaters. So it allows me to connect digitally to that repeater. The other thing that is kind of cool is the Wires X functionality through it. So there are chat rooms that are basically, it uses your radio and the internet together to be able to talk to people over the internet. Not very useful in my opinion in an emergency communication situation, but fun nonetheless. I haven't really done it a whole bunch, but it does exist there. But that is a great radio. I highly recommend it. I came from the Yaesu 897, FT897 before, which this is basically the upgraded version of that, and digital with the nice touch screen and other cool features that are upgraded over it. But for the most part, it's a very similar radio from what I can tell. Moving on next, on the bottom there, that's my power supply that runs all these various pieces of equipment. It is a KG7AJM power supply. I'm not really sure, I don't know a lot about that brand, to be perfectly honest. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it through this, but it is a little noisy. You're probably hearing, if you're hearing fan noise, it's coming from that power supply. So I don't know, it does okay, but I don't think it's putting out the full 30 amps, because when I transmit with the Yaesu at 100 watts, a lot of times it will pull from my battery bank. We'll get into that battery bank later and what that's doing, but it will pull from my battery bank in order to get the full 100 watts of power out of the radio. And so that will probably be the next thing that I upgrade in the shack, but it does its job nonetheless. Above that, we have the Kenwood TMV71, and so that radio, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit, really good radio. This is a UHF VHF radio, and I have it plugged in to a Diamond X30 antenna, which is probably another thing that I will upgrade soon. I'll show you some footage of that antenna real quick as well. This is what I use to communicate locally for the most part, with the repeaters and the various groups that are around here. Anyways, it's a great little great little radio that good transceiver, and I like it because it's got dual listen, and so you can just switch. So right now you can see I've got this repeater, and then I've got the national call sign set up on simplex on the UHF or VHF, and so right now I'm on this repeater, and then I can just click that button, and now I'm on that repeater, and then these are the volume knobs that control those two different channels, so I can control those volumes independently. It also has APRS built into it for being able to tell people where you're at in the world, but I think that requires some additional hardware potentially in order for that to work correctly, but it does have that capability. So moving on next, let me zoom out just a little bit. We have the power sonic batteries that I have here. I've got 3 of those. They're 35 amp hour batteries, and they are connected in parallel, and this is my backup battery bank, and so you can see 1, 2, 3 back there, and this allows me to be able to run without any issues if the grid goes down for whatever reason. I've got a charge controller, and I've got some solar panels that I need to get put up, but eventually I'm going to get this also hooked into a solar array, and so it can potentially run my whole entire radio setup without the need of a power supply, if necessary, all through solar and through battery power. So right now we're a little bit over 100 amp hours of battery, which these are AGM batteries, so that really means like 50 amp hours of battery, because you're not supposed to really take AGM batteries below 50% on their voltage. Otherwise, you're gonna have potential damage that you could do to them if you do that too often and too many times. Then on top here, I've just got a little voltage meter. It just tells me what the voltage of the batteries are right now. I had it on a charger a little bit earlier, and so it's dropping a little bit in its voltage. This power supply can only maintain about 13.2 on the voltage of these batteries, so it will not charge these batteries unless they are below 13.2. All right, last thing on the desk is my, this is a Yaesu HT, that's the FT1D. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe that's the first C4 FM capable Yaesu handheld, and so that's the digital mode that I talked about a little bit earlier on the FT991. So it allows you to connect digitally instead of just analog over FM with the HT. I've got a diamond antenna on it. Let me see, I forget what the model number is. Let's see here if this will... It's not gonna want to focus there. Oh, there we go. All right, so the model number is SRH77CA, and it does pretty well. A little bit better than the rubber ducky, but we can turn this on real quick. But great little radio. It has the ability to also receive data, and you can store it on an SD card right here. But this is an older radio. I believe they're probably maybe 3 or 4 versions past this. They all have like touch screens now, and you can send text messaging basically through the C4 FM digital modes now. And I think you can through this one too. I haven't really got into it just because you only have the T9 pad that you can send it through, so kind of frustrating to use, but I guess in a pinch you could. But you can also receive data if other people want to send it to you. So last but not least, this is my power pole power array that I have back here, and the device on the left here, this one, that is called a power gate, and I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the brand name of those two devices. I want to say it's Chunziahua, but whatever it is, I can spell it out for you. Chunzehui. Anyways, that power gate, its purpose is it is a distribution method of, and also a splitter of sorts. So what it does is it connects the power supply and the batteries into that array, and then it has an output into the thing on the right, which is a distribution block. And so what it does is, regardless of where the power is coming from, it will always power the devices in that distribution block. So whether it's coming from battery or whether it's coming from the power supply, it's always going to work. And it does it instantaneously. So I can show you this. I'll turn off the power supply here, and you can see the power supply is off, yet the radios are continuing to run because it automatically switches, and you can see the voltage on our batteries are starting to drop quicker now because it's starting to draw, but it will level out here in a little bit. But anyways, so it automatically switches between those two devices, and also if the batteries are low, you can turn, or in the power supply will start charging up the batteries and keep those topped off. So as long as you have that turned on, your batteries in theory should always be near full charge. And then there's a distribution block here, and let me see if I can zoom in with that. So that distribution block, these are all Anderson power pole connectors. Great connector, I'm really a big fan of them. And essentially what this is it has a whole bunch of different fuses in it for each of the different power poles. And those fuses are different amp ratings. And so I only have 3 things plugged into it right now, which is the 2 radios and the tuner. But you could plug in multiple things. I've got some other devices like that will convert USB from power pole, and so you can charge things via USB off of this if you wanted to, or power like a Raspberry Pi computer, which is one thing that I've done. But yeah, it's a great little method for powering everything in your rig. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the radios. And that's just another battery up there, just a small little, I think it's 7 amp hour battery up on top there, but I haven't really used that for a while. But that's pretty much it. It's got, I'm running all the cables, the trunk line, so to speak, from this into my out my window for the antennas, but also into this computer is where I'm running the HF rig. And so that plugs into this, which is where I run my digital modes. And so right now you can see I've got FT8 with grid tracker running right now. And so I was on this a little bit earlier. You can see I made a contact there, but grid tracker is kind of cool because it shows you where the people are popping up across the world. So you can be able to see visually where these contacts are coming from and try to, if you see a country pop up that you want to try to hit, it allows you to see their call sign and call them out. But yeah, we can go into this maybe later. Maybe I'll do a video on what FT8 is and JS8, what those digital modes are all about. But this is just a Linux machine. That's the Linux machine right there, and I'm running Fedora Linux on this, and then my logbook of all my various contacts on VHF or HF. But anyways, I think that pretty much wraps it up for now, but thanks for checking it out, and I will talk to you guys later.